Hi all, so in this video we are going to tackle the WP REST API, but not the WP REST API with backend code. We're just going to look at how can we use that, the power of REST API powered websites, and use React to get the content. So in this video I'm gonna walk you through this example. Let me just get you here. Yeah, this one. So we'll have a simple app, and then when you have something you can just click on it and it will show all the articles, the last articles that are provided through the WP REST API. So let's begin. Let me just move that away, and then we can start creating it, right? So the first thing we need to do is to create the basic HTML where our app will live. So this will be just a simple divider like that. What? Not sure, but let's just type save. Let's refresh, and okay, I think it's fine. I'll move this CSS part here because we don't actually need, and actually we don't even need the HTML anymore. This is everything we need in HTML. So let's move on the JS. Well, for the JavaScript to work in our own example, we'll need a few things. Let's configure it, and we are configuring it in CodePen. Of course, when you are developing it locally, you will have to have a preprocessor, sorry about that, and then a few more libraries. I do recommend using Webpack. If you are not sure, check my website at ebanitz.com, and I have a guide that will show you how to use Webpack. So first here we're using Babel, not sure how it's read, and then we need a few more of them, and the recent one are here, and you can always type in search in CodePen, they will show, but as I have them already, I'll just use the React DOM and React. So those are the ones we need, and I think that's all. I'll just save and close. Okay, so now let's start. What's the first thing we need to do? Well, we need to render something, and we can just check if the DOM is there. So I'll just use this, and then I need an app. So the I'm not sure, maybe this will work. Let's just try it. Document get element by ID, and our ID is app. Okay, so this does not work. Maybe just like something like that will work, not sure. So nothing works, but well, we can just go on and check it out later. So when we create our app, we will use a class. So we are using a class app, which will extend the React component. So I'm not sure in other languages, but in PHP it's actually almost the same, if not same syntax. So if you are coming from PHP, this is quite familiar to you, and I think in most languages it's pretty similar. But okay, let's keep on going. So before any functionality, let's just create the render method, which is used to render the components and HTML, and then just use this and let's just say blah, and then the element, which is constant, will be an app. We're using the JSX here, and then we can just type here element. Let's save. Let me check if there are any errors. We have some errors not defined. Okay, so we do not have the React DOM defined, and why is that? Not sure. But let's try and refresh it. Okay, so now we have something else. We still have React DOM. We still have the React DOM not defined. And why is that? Well, I'm not actually quite sure, because that should work. Not sure if I'm typing something wrong. Maybe we need to let me just go here and replace them. Let's refresh just to be sure. Okay, and let's check. Blah is not defined. Great, this is much better. So if I say this, okay, but if I say like that, something like that, what? Okay, we have the blah here. Okay, great. So the problem was with rendering the order of the scripts, of the included scripts. So the React DOM always must come after the React, of course, and that was a simple and honest mistake by me. And now we can move on. So let me just check if this would work. No, so that wouldn't work, and this wouldn't work either, but maybe something like that. I'm not sure. I'm just trying something. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's put the element. So here we need a React element, and with vanilla.js you can, I think, something like create element, something like that. I think it exists. Let me just check for you. Yeah, I think it does. So React component, React element. So yeah, we have the create element, and we could use that, but let's just stick with the classic, the JSX, because if you are going to work with React, you're mostly will be working with this. Okay, and sorry if I was a bit well, sorry if I was a bit boring to you now, but we will continue with this render method. So what do we need here? Well, we need first a selector, and let's just assume that this will be the place of our WP selector, and place it like that. Of course, this doesn't exist for now, so let's create it. It will be, we are using the same as this, the same syntax, so we will use the WP sites selector extends React component. Great. And so now what to show? Well, of course, create the render method, and then in this method I will say const data, so constant, and it will have a list of objects. The first will be just a simple title, and we'll say select the site, and then the second one we will have let's use the Tom McFarlane site, so like that, Tom McFarlane.com, and then we'll use the direct link to the WP REST API output of the posts, like that. And the title will be just a simple Tom McFarlane, I think it's like that. Okay, and now we have the data. And how do we use this data? How can we use that? Well, the return will always have to be something in JSX. So we'll say select, and we just can't put data here because that won't work. So if I go here and just put data, it won't work. So this is something that can't work. If we check here, we probably have some full of errors, and we can check. You can click on it. Objects are not valid as a React child. Okay, so we can't use that. We need another one. So we'll use another constant, which is links. Then we will map the data. We will provide a link and an index, and then we will use another return here, and this return will actually return an option, key index, then value is the URL from the link. We will also close that option, and we will place the link title like that. Okay, and now we can also console log the links just so we see what will happen here. So we have two links. The first one is of course select the site. So this are the props that are given on React elements. So this is as simple as we wanted to create an element of React, and with JSX that actually is what we are doing. Without it, we will return something like return React create element in vanilla.js. I think I'm correct. If I'm not, please do correct that. Correct me in the comments. Okay, so now we have those React elements. The key is 0, key is 1, of course, and we have the values here, and then we can remove this. Of course, the actual thing here is that this is an array, but I don't see any functions. Oh, never mind. Okay, so let's go here and replace this with links constant, and now we can select a site. Great, but while we are selecting, nothing is actually happening here. So what can we do to change that? Well, first we need to have here on the select an on change event, and this change event will be, let's say, handle change. I actually copied that name from the React documentation, so you can fairly go and check on the documentation and you will learn everything I am doing here. Okay, so now we have this, and to get the value we need, of course, a method here. The method will be handle change. It will get the element, and we can console E, right? Let's check it out. Is it clear? No. Sure. Maybe this. Yeah, never mind. Wanted to clear everything, but I forgot the command. Okay, so let's check. Okay, here is something. We have something, and we can also say what is the target of this. Will this work? So this is actually something like dispatch config. Let's see. Okay, we have something, and then we can also say give me the value of it. So okay, it's refreshed, and the value is HTTPS Tom McFarlane. Great. So we have the value. But how can we actually push that to our app that will get our posts and everything? Well, that can be a bit tricky, but let me try to explain. With React we have states, and you probably already know about them. So this is something like a temporary storage in your app, and in this example I will use the app here to have that state. So it will be a state from the top level, and it will not be saved in this part or something else. So the top element will have the state here, and let's do this. So the same as the constructor method in PHP, we have this here. We can pass props. So for example, we can add the list here, the sites or something like that, and then we can push it. But for now I'll leave the props even if we are not passing any, and then use these super props. And what will this do? This will make all the props available through this command. Okay, great. And now how can this handle change actually do anything in the app? Well, the direct link can't. So this direct function the function can't directly change anything in the app, but we can pass through the props a method from the app to the selector, and then say that when this is changed, this method will call the past method from the app, and then we can change the state in here. So we need the state. The state will have an empty array of posts, and then we need a method that will get posts. So get posts, like this, and let's say if the variable is not 0, then console log, let's just say fetching, like that. Else we will set state to posts. So we will set the posts to an empty array again. Okay, great. So this is great. How can we pass this method here? Well, we can say, let's say get posts on change, and then put the reference to our own method. Great. And now we can go to our selector component. And how can, let's say, now you may think that we can do, so this is actually the props that we have sent. So this will be the reference to our getPost function. And since this is a property, we should be able to do something like this, right? Okay, let's save it. And let's see what are we going to get in the console log. Change. Okay, cannot read property get posts on change of undefined. So this is undefined. Why the props are undefined? Because we haven't done the same as we did here. We need to use this. So let's create another constructor on this component with props, and we have the props here, and say prepare our props. Okay, let's save it. And now let's see what will happen. Again, another one. Cannot read property get posts on change of undefined. So why this can be done like that? It should be, right? Let's see if here we get the props, the actual props. Okay, we get them. The property is getPostChange, and it is a function of getPost, as you can see. So this should be done, but I'm not sure why. And this something has to do with ES6, and I'm not sure. But Vesbos did that, did explain it, but I forgot the actual explanation. So I'll just say, if you don't have access to this inside this function, this method, just do this. Use this handle change, repeat the name of the function, and just use this handle change bind this, and that's it. Whenever you can access something from this, do that in the constructor. Okay, let's now see. Okay, it's a refresh. Now if I do this, it says fetching Tom McFarlane ... Okay, and that fetching we have typed here. So great. Now we are fetching them. What to do next? Well, the next is a fun part. We'll use the fetch part. Okay, the fetch is something done within the browser, so we don't have to use the Ajax from jQuery. We'll use fetch, and fetch returns a promise. I won't go into much into promises because I haven't done them in detail, but basically you pass, you request something, then the promise is created, and then you use the then, so something like promise, and then, and inside of this you can create a function, you can create something, whatever you want, that will happen when that promise is executed, when a data is retrieved from Ajax or something like that, and this we will do with fetch. So let's do it. I will just use a simple variable JSON here and use fetch this. If I now log the JSON here, let's see, we have a promise here. So we have a promise, catch, finally, then, you see, so we can try catch, we can try finally also. There are more than one, and we have a promise that is a response. So we have a response here, and maybe we can do something with it. We'll see. Okay, so now I will just concatenate this like this, but I will pass it in the next line. The same. There's nothing has changed here. And I will use a so-called arrow function, and that's, I can do, some browsers do support it, some don't, but with Babel you can use them. So actually I'm just using the response from this fetch that is returned, it's a returned value, and passed to then. I can use this and then say return response and put it to JSON. Okay, and now what? This value is not returned to this, it's just to then. So I can use another then and use that value. I will call it that this JSON. I mean, you can call it JSON, but as I have the JSON here already, I'll just use posts, and then I'll say this. Well, I'm not gonna say anything, I'll just log the posts like that, okay, and like that. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so Tom McFarlane, and this is something that has been returned from that from this
address. And as you can see, the retrieved is JSON because we transform it into JSON, an array of the posts. So what are we going to do? We need to set them in state, and let's do this. So this set state, and then posts, and we probably could just leave it as this, but so you can understand what's happening, I'll leave it as it is. But in ES6 you could just say this, and JavaScript will look for the same key. Okay, so save it, and then let's see what we'll have in the console log. Oh, this is not a function. This is not a function. And why this isn't a function? This should be available here. Again, what's happening? We have this function that is you trying to access this but doesn't have access to it, even with this. So if I select the site with no URL, again we have this state is not a function. So we are trying to access this but without any success. So what we need to do is again use this get posts, this get posts, bind this. Okay, let's save that, and let's see if we will get any error now. Tom Farland. We wait. Well, I accidentally clicked on it. Those are the two previous errors, and I'm not sure I get any. Let's just refresh so we can be sure. This, nothing has happened. So I guess our state is actually quite fine. And how can we test that? Well, we can just try to render them. So let's create another one here. So this is the next step. Let's render the sites. Site posts, and then we need to pass the posts there because we have them in this state, right? So we are using again the properties, and this will be posts, and then we'll use this state posts. So we are using the data from the state and pass it to posts. Don't mind this error, that's because we actually don't have this yet. But let's go here and say class WP site posts extends React component. And since we already know that we are using the props, let's also make them available inside the component like that. So that's great. And we just need a render function here. So let's say render, and then let posts be empty. And then what else? So we'll say if this props posts length is 0, then the posts will actually be a JSX with nothing to see. Else we'll again use the variable posts and say these props posts map them. So we are using the same technique as we used here to map our links, our options. So map post equal, and then parentheses return, and now we can, let's say, just for an example, use the post title. Okay, let's return this. Do we have an error? We have a few, but let's see. We don't have a return here. That's the first one. It might be the reason why. So let's return. Let's just say posts. Okay, and let's see. So unexpected, we do expect something here, but we don't actually get anything. Why is that? Let's console log the post. So the actual error we can check is render a valid React must be returned. You may have returned undefined, an array, or some invalid object. So we need a React element, and we are returning nothing here. So let's say React create element, and let's check the actual document here. So let's say this is hello to what create element. Okay, this is the component, and if we don't have a component, we can use this div. Okay, let's now just say this will be a paragraph with a title, right? With null. Okay, null is properties, and a title like that. Okay, whoa, let's refresh. No, let's save it and let's refresh just to see what errors are we going to have now. So this is loading and we have an error again, unexpected token. So I might be doing something wrong here, but I'm not sure why. Maybe it's this, might be. So yeah, it was that. Right was render valid, right must be returned. Okay, again we are not returning something correctly, but we have a console here. Pretty interesting, if I may say. So let's see. Render, create element, null, hello world. Okay, let's say just blah. Oh my god, blah. Like that. And still there is no way this is working. And why? Because I'm returning this. And maybe that is the problem here. If I say posts, nothing to see, and then we should get okay. So we are getting something. As you can see, the console log is here, and each post has everything like this. There's a title and this is rendered. So maybe we need to say post, then is title and rendered. Okay. What's this minify director? Let's see if we'll get the same. Yeah, the same messages here, and again the React element, blah blah blah. Maybe React create element and divider. Okay, nothing is passed, and then we are rendering the posts. Let's see. Okay, this is working. So now we are returning an actual create element, a React element, and this is working. But as you can see, this is not encoded, and so we are returning a raw output, and we do not want that. we want something that is correctly done. And to make our lives easier, we will just, let's say, return. We will return a div like that, and then we will put the posts inside. And what we will be doing here is not this, so we won't do this. We want an actual element. So we, for each post, will return a VP post that will use the post prop, the property, like that. Okay, and now we have to create even that one. So class VP post extends React component. Okay, and now again we are using the properties, so we need to use this. And then we also need the render method, of course, which will return something. It will return an article like that. Then we will have an h2, and we won't pass anything here inside of it, but we will use this. We'll use an attribute, a settings, so dangerously set inner HTML. So for now I did not find anything else that I could use to render it correctly, and if you know what I could use to render them, please do tell in the comments. So if I don't have to do this but somehow process the encoding, please do tell so I know even better. And for now I'm using this. So what are we passing to HTML? We are passing this props post because the post is passed here as a property, and then we can use the title rendered like that. Again, we also need a bit of text, so let's copy this one, let's put it here, and we won't use that, we will use the excerpt. And I think if we look at the console log of all of our, so the console log is so big that it doesn't even, yeah, so it's so big that it doesn't even collapse, but we have one here, so the expert is rendered, as you can see here. So we need to say rendered. And then what if we want to have a link? Well, let's say that the target is blank and the href will be this props post link, because as you can see here the link is directly accessed from this. And say just read more. Okay, let's wait for CodePen to render. I think it did. So Tom McFarlane. Okay, we have everything here, and we can also click to read more. And if you want more links, you can always use this and just paste them. Let's say Carl Alexander, I think is here, Carl Alexander. Now we'll see if I'm correct. So we have him. Yep, it's working. So this is from Carl. These posts are now from Tom. And if we select nothing to see, and that's fine. So another task or challenge for you is to use this data, and instead of doing it like that, pass them as properties here. So I hope you have learned something. I hope I did not bore you with my slow talking or slow explanations, but I do think it's better to explain and know and understand how everything works than just copy and paste the code without any explanations. So if you have any questions or if you have any guides for me also, do tell me in the comments below. Bye.